Okay, so thank you all for your time. Scott Rybarczak with Wendel. This is the project we did with the town of Newstead. I also serve as the town engineer for Newstead. And this is, so where are we? Project goals. So the idea here is that the town knew that they didn't really know what they had. I think this is probably common for a lot of communities, that they really didn't know what culverts they had. There were all these kind of rumors going around and even kind of guesses. Oh, do we have 20 culverts? Do we have 50 culverts? Do we have hundreds of culverts? Once we located the town-owned culverts, we wanted to assess their condition, their erosion potential, and whether there was a problem for fish passage. And that is an impossible series of words to say together unless you go very slow. And then we wanted to summarize the results. Okay, so project budget. So this was really great, actually. We got a $30,000 grant from New York State DEC to do this work. So it was a $33,000 project. 90% of the funding came from DEC. As part of that grant, you know, again, grants always have certain strings. There was an MWBE requirement. We worked with J.M. Davidson Engineering. They're a woman-owned business here in the area. So they were awesome to work with and helped us out. We also had the match. So the 10% that the town had to do, they did an in-kind services. And we'll go through what those in-kind services were in a moment. Okay, so first task, find the culverts. So we're really lucky in the town of Newstead that we had some highway and DPW workers who were very interested in technology. So we worked with them. We also host and manage the town's GIS system. So we went and created a new layer on the town GIS for culverts. And then both of the highway guys that we worked with had smartphones, so we just had them download an app called the ArcGIS Collector onto their phone. And literally, we taught them very quickly. It was just, they went out and they went to every single road in the town. And when they found a culvert location, they just hit a plus sign. Now, is this perfectly accurate? No, but for culverts, how accurate do you need to be? You know, this is sub-meter accuracy. So within 3 feet, you know, most of your culverts, you're going to know where they are too. Once you kind of get to it, like for example, on the right side of the screen is Ledge Creek. If we didn't have a culvert there, there'd be a problem. So, you know, that's part of it too, is once we got the information, you know, the green dots were what was collected in the field. The red labels were just kind of our numbering to allow us to put together a map book so that when our assessors went out, they knew where to go. We checked all the green dots and made sure they showed up on town roads and, you know, do the locations show up on streams and ditches. One thing I should just talk about, for Newstead, town-owned culverts really just refers to culverts on town roads. So in this project, we explicitly skipped county and state roads because they wanted to know what they had to maintain and what things they might need to replace in the future. So you can go on. So assessing the culverts. This is kind of the meat of the project, and I do want to thank Mark right next to me for helping out with this. We needed to have, as part of the grant, another one of the little strings involved, is that our assessment needed to meet the North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative requirements. So we need to show that when we were doing these assessments, we were assessing to figure out if there was fish passage issues, erosion issues, and this is not something that you can just say, oh yeah, we know how to do this. You do have to do some online training, and then you also have to shadow with somebody who's already had the training. We were very lucky that Tom Hoffman was great. He's out at the Iroquois Fish and Wildlife Center. He came and met us with another one of his staff who kind of wanted to learn the training themselves. And we went out with them and did like the first 25 culverts with them. And then, we went off on our own. We got our, so the little thing in the left-hand corner is my certificate that says that I have completed the protocol for non-tidal streams. And it goes to 2041, so, I got plenty of time here.
I'm in here just a second. For the online people, I just want to check in. Can you Can you guys hear and see the presentation okay?
No, we actually can't see his screen. We can hear him fine.
Oh,
Okay. I'm going to work on that just for a second.
That's unfortunate.
that probably would have helped with the maps.
Sometimes it's just like you're sharing the
Yeah, I need
part
to-
of the screen,
Well,
or it's like a dual monitor.
yeah, I got it. I'll do it just a second. It's because it's dual monitor. And
Okay.
Marty, what are you seeing on the screen?
Just seeing the same thing we saw before, the other online participants and your live video.
I know what to do. I think I just didn't share it.
That is what, yeah.
Where's the, here it is. My oversight.
But am I loud enough?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Now do you see it?
Yeah, I can see it now. Thank you.
I'm going to step back. Do you want to just let him take a look at the previous slide?
Yeah, can you see it now?
So the main one was this one with the map. I'll get this off of here.
Yeah, we can see it now. Yeah, thank you.
You just hit the down arrow.
That's fine. Okay, so next slide, that just shows you kind of some of the culvert mapping. So this is just the training. You didn't miss much there. Okay, now is where you really do need to see the screen. So what we've got here is the forms that they have are kind of paper forms that you need to fill out everything in that form to kind of have it meet their requirements for a culvert. So what we did was we used a program called Formatize. Formatize allows us to take something like this, bringing it into a database that can be used on a phone or an iPad, and then automatically takes that data and creates a geodatabase on it. So we could link our forms into the GIS directly. We also then took pictures at all the culverts, and those similarly were then downloaded directly into the geodatabase. So for the stream crossing requirements, you need to take 4 photos at a minimum, upstream, the inlet of the culvert, downstream, and also, the outlet of the culvert. So again, also we had QA/QC to make sure that everything that was collected made sense. And then we summarized the results. We had reporting with an executive summary, a prioritization plan. One thing the town really wanted to know is, okay, well, what do we need to do first? And this also helps the town out in the future that if Bridge New York projects come up or Bridge New York funding comes up, they can say, hey, we've looked at all our culverts. We can guarantee to you that we know which ones we need to deal with versus just saying, hey, we looked at this one and this was the worst one in the town. Now we can say these are the critical culverts that we have. The information, like I mentioned, was put into the GIS database and also into the NAACC website. Okay, go ahead. So the actual results. So on the left-hand side, you can see DPW went out and found 136 culverts. When we went out for assessment, we were not able to find 3 of the culverts that they found. We worked with them afterwards and found sometimes people just, clicked a button while the phone was in the pocket, those kind of things. There was also 6 that were part of a subdivision sewer system. Newstead really doesn't have a whole lot of subdivisions. It actually really only has 1. That subdivision sewer system, you wouldn't really call it culverts. It's more of a sewer system. So we didn't include those. 1 additional culvert was found while we were doing the assessment. So we assessed 128 culverts. So we can now say pretty confidently that the town of Newstead has 128 town-owned culverts. So we found 4 culverts that we felt were of most important kind of, you had to deal with them fairly soon. And the town is actually working on that now. One culvert, as you can see on the left, this is on Havens Road. So every culvert should have 2 sides to it, right? An inlet and an outlet. We found the inlet. The outlet is buried underneath this temporary roadway that was being put in to construct the new electrical lines that are going through the eastern part of Erie County. So we are working with that company, Newstead, to relocate this and make sure they find the culvert outlet when they are done. The one on the right is another street in the town where the outlet, somehow, some way, the outlet was just basically buried with a stone. So kind of the whitish thing in the middle is a big rock was put right in front of the culvert, kind of on top of it. So surprise, surprise, if you go to the inlet side, there's a big pond now. So, again, kind of things that just don't get noticed, but, need to be replaced. These were all fairly small. The one thing that was great is the 4 culverts with severe damage were all small enough the town could go through and do that work themselves. They're all 12 and 18-inch culverts. Okay, next slide. There were 7 culverts with moderate damage, and these also were some culverts that were bigger in size. So we have the one crossing Ledge Creek on the left. It's twin barrels, 5x14 each. And the culverts themselves, so the metal is actually pretty good. The head wall on that is not great. We also have some bigger ditches in the town that are crossed by 6x4 foot concrete structures that, again, we're seeing quite a bit of spalling. We're actually seeing some concrete kind of loss in some of those where you touch the concrete and it starts to pull away from you. So this is something that the highway department has now agreed that they'll go out and assess on a regular basis. And we're then going to be putting these on the list to try to get Bridge New York funding whenever the next piece comes out. So they're not in imminent danger of failure, but they really do need to be taken care of. And there's 5 others that I didn't show you pictures of with similar kind of conditions. Go ahead. And then there were just things of erosion protection and cleaning that were needed. So the one on the left, it's kind of hard to see in the photo. And pipes in the middle, and there was no erosion control. It's a big, fairly steep bank. There's just one rock at the bottom. So that really isn't providing any kind of erosion protection. So the town's going to go out and put some more riprap out there. And then the one on the right, the pipe's pretty much halfway full with sediment. It's a concrete pipe, so we can clean it out, and that's something the town's going to do. Fish passage. So this is on Hake Road. You can kind of see the waterfall in the picture. When you have a waterfall, it means that there's no fish passage happening here. So this is something that the pipe itself is in okay condition. But actually, we've been talking with Fish and Wildlife that there might be some funding available to kind of replace this and get it so that it is something that has a natural stream bottom and is put at the right elevation. And then something that we saw all over the place, especially with the plastic pipes, the town has done some replacements recently of old steel pipes with plastic pipes. And this is probably a plastic pipe that's no more than 2 or 3 years old that, somebody comes around with a mower and just completely shears off the end of the pipe. Now, is this going to cause a problem for the pipe right now? No. Does it look not so great? Yes. So what we're trying to do is work with the town to put some kind of flexible stakes or something at the ends of their culverts so that people know that it's there and won't mow over the top of it. So the good news, and kind of the last news for everybody here, is that this grant's still around. The latest version of the CFA still has the stream culvert repair and replacement section, including the stream culvert assessment reports. So, if your town is interested, there is still a way to do this, and you can look for the potential to do this in your community. So, it's still out there. The town of Newstead found it to be great. The people at DEC were fantastic to work with. And the town now knows a lot more about their culverts than they did before the project started. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Did the town use any of that $30,000 grant for any repairs, or was it just for the report?
It was just for the report. So the $30,000 covered ourselves and J.M. Davidson to go out and do the assessments.
So do you think they'll apply for funding now to address any of those issues?
Yes. So that's the whole idea, is that now that we have, the way I look at it, this is almost your kind of your hunting license. They now know these are the culverts we have to deal with, especially those 7 with moderate. Those are now ones where they can use the assessment report, now submit the assessment report with any grant applications they're putting in for those bridges and culverts. And they have a way to say, look, this isn't just us saying that this culvert is kind of in bad condition. We went out and actually did the assessment. And for the entire town of Newstead, this is one of the 7 that we have to deal with.
So another piece of the puzzle for those municipalities that are out there, one of the other reasons that this is good to do is that a lot of the municipal highway departments don't have a good handle on what culverts that they do have. So if there was a storm event and you had an emergency declaration, you now have pictures of pre-project site conditions. So if you have, culvert blowouts, road disturbances, you have that proof that basically, hey, this culvert was in good shape and look what the storm did to it. So you can apply for, FEMA funding or whatever. So the county has used that on occasion where we've been able to have some sort of background information on what was there previous to a storm event for mitigation purposes. But yeah, municipalities really don't have a good handle on, unless they've replaced it recently. The other thing is from a fisheries perspective, a lot of the priority grant stuff that you'll find is really for, when you look at, aquatic passability, a lot of the folks are concentrating on trout streams, which of course is a high priority, but some of those feeder streams that have aquatic invertebrates and other things that help to supply food sources for trout streams is the other piece of the puzzle. So, municipalities have a benefit on using this because they can document, they can see what's going on there. They have a good inventory of what's going on, but yet the cross-reference is if there's good habitat or not good habitat, it makes funding those a win-win, both for the habitat and for potentially the culvert repair. So that's really the benefit portion of it. So,
Did your team look at capacity at all, or like resiliency issues? Like, I don't know, maybe the town anecdotally said something.
With that amount of money, honestly, we just kind of really wanted to do assessment of the culverts. Any culvert will have enough capacity if you put enough head on top of it. But, again, what roads is it going to flood in the meantime? So for right now, no. Is that something we may go back and look at in the future? Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know if that would have been allowed for in the grant? I mean, I saw.
Well, the grant has a maximum of 33,000. So that kind of, again, even for a smaller community like Newstead, that's kind of
Not
pushing how much you can get done. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of field work involved.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?